Hey man, how's it going?
Oh, not too bad yourself.
Not too bad, thank you. Yeah, not the nicest day today, but luckily for us, not a bad episode of Futurama. This was
Oh,
actually
I
okay.
hated it.
Bull.
It was okay.
It was okay. No, it was
Eh,
actually I thought it was really good.
It was a high
I-
passing grade, but I think the more I think about it, the more it's kind of like a little all over the place.
well, welcome back everybody to Bite My Shiny Metal Cast, and our spoiler review this time of Planet Espresso. Yeah, so episode 7 here. Okay, so yes, the resolution kind of off a little bit, but it's not as bad as other places,
No,
right?
no, it's the least
Left
problematic.
ambiguous. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the least problematic one, just because it's more about something that us the viewers know rather than the crew being a part of it or anything like that. Because it's just the coffee aliens going, yes, their time will be coming soon. Maurice
Yeah.
LaMarche does a way better job. So.
Yes. Yeah. Well, let's
Yeah,
uh,
it's
let's
it's,
get
it's the
into.
impact isn't as bad as like the close one, or even worse, the quids game one, or what's another one that
Well,
did.
yeah. Well, I'd say the close one is worse than the quiz game one, based on like the real world situations. But
Yeah.
sure. Well, let's do. I'll do a quick synopsis here of this episode, and then we'll get into our positives and our negatives. So, Planet Espresso basically begins as we had been told. I guess we would say this is in our predictions, but not really. But it's about the millions of years or thousands of years of the history of coffee type of thing. Where does it come
Yeah,
from on Earth and everything?
I think we just like,
Um,
yeah, it's about coffee. Next, I think that's what pretty much we did for our
we well,
thing, right?
actually, no. I was actually right in the prediction. I said they're going to turn into a coffee delivery company. Now they're not a delivery company, but they did become a coffee company based on this whole thing. But in any case, yes, we
Partial
start off the
credit.
episode with um, basically a nod to Space Odyssey again,
Stanley
and
Kubrick. Yeah, how many times
uh,
has this been referenced? I know, and
at
it's not
least
even
three
in
times.
Futurama. Like I know Futurama they did oh, what's the robot Hal or whatever with the ship. They
Yep.
did that
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
that one.
And then
Um,
in the mainframe as well with the Hell Institute of Criminally Insane Robots. So they have a few references to a Space Odyssey.
Well, it's probably one of the best sci-fi movies. I have not seen it full way through, and
Hmm.
it feels dated, but it isn't. But
Well, it's definitely dated, but it's an old film, but it's a very well
yeah,
made film, right?
oh yeah, yeah. Stanley
Um,
always did a great job. I've only seen a few of his movies, and
sure.
they're always consistently pretty damn good.
So so we have like an opening scene before the opening title sequence, I guess, for the a second time actually. They've been doing this a little bit more recently, and yeah, just the early primates, early
Hominids.
hominids, if you will, and they get like a giant cup of coffee, and it's Space Odyssey, 2001 reference. So in any case, we go into the main episode, and the characters, like the main Planet Express crew, they're having a meeting or whatever, and Hermes gets word that his father is going to be passing away, to which he hasn't actually seen or heard from him in like many years, and he hates his
No,
father for it. So they end up going to Jamaica, which we actually get to see for the first time ever, like Hermes' father, but also Jamaica in the Futurama universe. And yeah, we go through there, and his father unfortunately does pass away, but he,
I do
I
like that
guess
little
he's
sequence of hold on, I gotta get my glasses.
yes,
Oh
that is
darn it,
actually
these
pretty
are
funny.
my reading
Yeah.
glasses.
So they
God.
end up in Jamaica. And it turns out that his father had left previously due to the fact that he was trying to make money for the family, and he left and never came back. And it turned out he was making coffee, not to be confused with other Jamaican plants, which they do also make jokes of. Any
A
case,
few times, yeah.
while burying him, the professor and Hermes discover a ship that contains like the quote unquote history of where coffee comes from Earth, and it comes from an alternate planet with aliens that basically thrive on coffee and everything, and
So
uh,
is this like a Prometheus,
so
alien
delicious.
Prometheus like reference or something like that? Like how like they were like the creators
I
of
guess I
life?
guess it kind of is. It's kind of in that. Yeah, it's kind of borrowing from a lot of space
Yeah,
sci-fi
find
films and
a find
everything.
a
But
space
yeah,
thing. It's all the people on it are dead, and
yeah.
it's just yeah.
Exactly,
That's,
exactly. And they kind of come back with this like memory thing. So they learn of like the history of it through this mind warping coffee blend or whatever. And it turns out it's still delicious. And the
yeah.
professor and Hermes decide, okay, we're gonna remake this because we think that this is actually going to be really good for humanity based on this little hallucination. So the professor turns Planet Express into Planet Espresso, hence
Should have been
why
an
I say I was
espresso.
It's espresso because that's
Yeah,
how
I
you
know.
pronounce it,
Yeah,
Mitchell.
but it should have been espresso for express and espresso.
But they don't deliver.
Well, they put it
Otherwise,
on their
it would have been.
planet. They put it on their ship anyways.
Well, yes, and that was another thing. I was like, I wonder why they didn't do delivery, but it doesn't matter. Point is, Professor turns it into that, and Fry is the only one that serves the coffee. The rest of them don't do anything except for Bender, who makes the coffee because he's like a machine and can do everything. Whereas
Yeah, I
Hermes
didn't
stays
really quite like
behind.
that whole part of like with like Fry
Hold
being
on,
the
let me
employee.
finish the synopsis. So Hermes stays behind and grows the beans and everything. But it turns out his father kind of grows back and tells him like this is the whole reason he had originally, because they found the beans burned in the first place. He decided to burn them because it wasn't actually good for humanity, because the coffee essentially is overacting and it keeps people up, which we then find out afterwards. And they burn everything and they sell off the company and they do all these kinds of things at the end. They find out that the aliens originally were there to try and plant it into humanity so that they could use them as slaves and keep them up working 24 hours a day. And that's where it ends. Yes. So, yes, let's talk a little bit about the episode there. So you said you don't like, what did you not like?
Oh, the Fry being the employee thing was fine, but the whole
Right.
like problems with what's the word, quality of life or something like that. I think it's a huge nod to
He
like the
goes on
whole
a
Starbucks
strike.
thing in real life and stuff like
Oh,
that. It's just
sure.
like
Okay.
it's a topical thing that's very niche. I do get it that it's coffee and Starbucks, but still, it feels like they're
Yeah.
just like, hey guys, we're on your side, see? But they make so much fun of it. It doesn't really matter in my opinion.
Mm.
It's just someone said, hey, you need to do this. I think to Bill, the writer, because his track record is pretty good. This is probably, in my opinion, his least.
One of his weaker ones. Well, I'd
Yeah.
say that's something for most of the episodes that have come out during the Hulu run as of now. But I thought this actually, you know what? I'd put this one as high up as probably the temp. But we'll kind of go through it. Maybe as we discuss it a little bit more, maybe I'll lower or heighten it from that time. But overall positives, I loved this episode's use of like we got a lot of good. We got like some more flashback. Like it's a Hermes centric episode, which is nice.
And we got to see
Uh,
little baby,
we get
not
to
baby, but just like child
yeah, like toddler
Hermes with
Hermes or
with a little
whatever.
afro. I thought it was
This is
cute. Who
this
the
is
heck did
interesting as
his
well.
voice as a kid? Do you think it was Phil Lamar doing
Phil
his kid
Lamar,
voice? Because it
absolutely.
sounded a little odd. But
It's definitely Phil Lamar. I think he's just made it like, "Hi, Daddy, what are you doing? Like, there's green snakes in the like." I love the and also
green
the
snakes
reference to
could
the
be
green
anywhere.
snakes. Yeah, green
Yeah,
snakes can be anywhere. Yeah,
yeah,
I thought that was great.
yeah. That was
Uh,
a funny little line.
Also, did you notice there's a reference to remember way back? Because remember this is Odenkirk's episode as well was how Hermes requisitioned his groove back, which
Yeah,
we've talked
yeah,
about.
really good one.
In the song, he says, "I cried all night because the storm knocked my alphabet blocks out of order." He has the alphabet blocks.
Alphabex,
He's
yeah.
right
Oh
next to the
no,
thing. I was like,
what did it
yes.
say? It said something at one point when his dad was going away.
Oh, it said childhood trauma.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I love that kind of reference there. So I wonder if that was intentional. He's playing with blocks because Bill Odenkirk, that's his name. Bill Odenkirk actually like wrote the song, or at least he wrote that portion of the episode. And he's like, oh yeah, we have to throw in like some blocks there. Little Hermes is playing with blocks. So I really like the connection to detail and the canonicity of it. I thought that was really good.
That's very clever. I completely forgot about that. But once you that's very, and mind you, it's the same guy who wrote that episode. And that's
Exactly.
he did how Hermes requisitioned his groove back. A
I
Tale of
know.
Two Santas, Insane in the Mainframe, Kif gets knocked off a notch, the Farnsworth Paradox, which is probably your favorite of that list, and then this one. So all of
Right.
his has been pretty good. I would say the weakest of those ones was the Two Santas, but now I think that the Planet Espresso is his weakest one. Not that it's bad. I just
Mhm.
think it's his weakest one. The other ones are just much better.
Sure. I think the Tale of Two Santas is also very good, but I don't know. I think this one's quite high up on there. Like it's not. It's hard to put it, but I did enjoy this one because it did make me laugh several times,
There
and
was
I
good
did like
jokes in it.
this,
Yep.
and I did like the overall story. The only thing I suppose I wasn't a huge fan of is like so when the professor and Hermes do their little hallucination thing with the coffee, the like the hallucination kind of like talks to them and says like, hey, you can't say these things about us or whatever. Like, oh, sorry.
That's a
He's like, oh,
Futurama
what do
thing,
we
in my
care?
opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, what do we care? We've been dead for millions of years and we can't hear you. Yet he's like talking to them. Like it's a very strange statement. But yeah, no,
I feel like
I thought
that's a
that was really
Futurama
good.
thing, though.
Yeah,
That was kind of a Futurama joke. It's like, yeah, we can't understand you. We're just saying this just because we think someone's here, or something like that,
sure.
right? But
And
the
I
dead
also
for
did
millions of
enjoy
years thing I
having
find hilarious.
Right, and I did like having La Barbara back. I thought she had a couple of really good jokes. Especially like, oh, it takes you like an hour to make instant coffee, and Zoidberg's like, zing.
Yeah, that was pretty good. And that's coming
So
from
I thought that was
Zoidberg,
really good.
who Hermes hates the most.
Yeah. So how about you? What things that you liked about the episode?
I don't know. It just there wasn't overly amount of stuff. I like that it was a Hermes centric episode. It felt a little forced to be him and Professor though. I think it should have been him and maybe one of the main three or something like that. But just I was very happy to see Professor be Professor in this one. But just I don't know, just everything felt kind of slightly like it should have been naturally better or something like that. Just it felt like they made the adjacent choices rather than the proper ones. And by all means, it's like I don't think it was like they made wrong decisions. Just like, okay, we need these two characters, Hermes obviously, and who haven't we done in a while, kind of thing. Like out of the main three, now you know what, we're gonna go with.
Even though we did the Professor last episode, I don't think that's true. Though, right? Well, who else would you have chosen then?
That's what I'm thinking of. I'm trying to think of who would have been the better one. Like it would have been nice to see him and Bender, because Bender would have been fun too. Because like it's like, oh, hey, I'm not seeing anything. I'm not getting anything from this coffee. What are you talking about? Hallucinations, kind of thing. Hermes, something like that. I don't know. But like I said, just it felt odd, kind of thing. Like the whole father issue, but they didn't really quite get there with his son, which they've done multiple times with like Dwight needs a daddy kind of thing. Right, so hey, Barbados Slim kind of thing. Yeah, bring him back for this one.
Actually, I will. Actually, that was going to be one of my positives. I'm glad they didn't have Barbados Slim in this episode. I'm glad they finally did a Hermes episode without him and with La Barbara. I'm glad they did.
Yes, because they'd really butchered that one last season with the whole relationship, because they've resolved it like 7 times now. It's like, no, she chooses Hermes over Barbados Slim every time.
Well, and rehash that would have been bad. They actually show like their relationship, right? So that's good. I like that.
Just imagine that instead of the Professor, it was Barbados Slim, and somehow they get along together, like they become friends or something like that. They kind of resolve. I don't think that would have been the proper choice. Obviously, the Professor is probably the best one out of the two so far. But I'm sick and tired of the whole La Barbara Barbados Slim thing. But also, it wouldn't be John DiMaggio playing Barbados Slim, which would have been a negative.
Of course. So, but any case, Barbados Slim isn't in the episode, so we don't have to go on much farther for it.
No, and that's Barbados, not Jamaica.
So, I was perfectly fine with the Professor being the main portion of it, because without him, like, it can't be Planet Espresso. He has to be the person to make the choice, right? Like if it were Bender, they would still have to get the Professor's approval to switch the company over, right?
Yeah.
Mind you, I wish they had done more with it. I wish it was kind of a delivery thing with it, and like Fry was like up all day like delivering coffees, and that's why his eyes are like bloodshot and everything. But it is fun to see. They could have done
the reference to the 300 cups of coffee too, but they didn't.
They could have. That's true. I was waiting for that too, but I'm guessing that's because this was a very different type of coffee. So whatever the case was, because it was like over the years, humanity has basically created, like, they've taken the coffee the aliens had provided, but then the coffee itself has been diluted and changed by humanity over time. So that's why their coffee is not as strong as this one, because this one was found in the spaceship, right? It's the 5 million year old roast that they're brewing now. But okay, so overall then your negatives then, if you didn't enjoy the episode as much, what is it about?
I think it was a little lower place, because with the whole doing him and his kid thing, him and his dad thing, I just felt like it wasn't resolved. Like I need to be a better father than my father. He didn't quite. There was a little bit of that. There was a little bit of that when he's like, I'm gonna get rid of the coffee thing, but like they didn't. It just I don't know what the theme of this like the story theme for this, other than like what was like the heartstrings that they were maybe trying to get out of this.
Well, I think at the end we kind of get a resolution of that though with his dad. Mind you, this is like kind of one of my negatives.
Except for Zoidberg cut down the tree and there was no resolution. So it was almost there. It was almost there, and then it didn't.
That's why I said this is not as good as it could have been for that reason. Yeah. But I did like that, because he's really getting heart and heart with his dad, and he's about to forgive him. And that's when like Zoidberg snips it, right? Because it's the joke. But I think that's exactly it.
I think I would call that the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 issue, where like there's something heartfelt and then cuts it off with a joke.
Exactly. Very, very much so, yeah. But not as bad as that, because I don't do that all the time in the episode. I think that enough resolution is there because the main theme of it is not necessarily about the coffee and that the aliens are going to take over. It's about Hermes chooses his son, his family, over the beans, which his dad did not, and he worked with them for like 30 odd years before he's like, okay, you know what, I'm done, and he burned them. So I think
I think they should have played on that a little more rather than just kind of the little bit there, because that's what I'm talking about. Because like that's what I mean by it was over the place, because it went with the whole Hermes thing that would do snippets of the other people and stuff like that, which is fine. That's where the Futurama jokes were, with the Fry being up and the Bender just being, nah, I'm equipment, man.
Yeah.
kind of thing. Like, I'm not an employee,
it's
I'm an
called
equipment.
Bendy Brew or something.
Yeah.
I did enjoy as well in the background of like when they're at the Planet Espresso, like all of the names of their like different types of coffees are all named after like the characters. Like there's a Lee Latte and Scruffy's Choice and
Scruffy's
and
Choice,
the Bendy Brew and all that stuff. I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah, my other kind of negative, I guess, is that, so remember Mitchell way back when, and we talked about in our predictions, and we talked about like for the temp, we thought that maybe Igner would have been something to do with that. They would have referenced that with
yes.
Professor. Now, Mom shows up in this episode briefly because she's
that's a positive for me. I love Mom.
I like that Mom is there, but I think she doesn't add anything to the episode.
No, she was unnecessary for this entire episode.
So I honestly thought that, like, oh my God, are they actually, because this is like a son-father relationship thing, they were going to bring Igner in and like he was going to be part of it. Didn't happen. Did not happen. So that was kind of a disappointment on my end. And she just basically, she buys the company from them, and then she basically sells it off to Randy and a bunch of other people who are then going to be alien slaves by the end. And that's the ending of it. Yeah, I thought it was actually quite funny. I would place this high enough that'd be if not Temp's level, it'd just be right below Temp, just below.
I also don't really care about coffee, so this episode was kind of like, to me. So
sure.
that's another reason why
you don't really like anything liquid.
I love smoothies. I love apple juice.
You don't like anything that has any kind of changing of your body.
I love gin and tonic, but only if it's Bombay gin. Not a sponsor.
I know it's only, and remove the gin. But in any case, but you don't like coffee. You barely touch alcohol, all this kind of stuff. So I could see this not really touching you there. But I, as somebody who actually enjoys coffee, I could say that this is like kind of fun for that. I also like when the Professor and Hermes are like, it's like, oh man, this stuff is like so good. And they're in like their little craziness or whatever with their hallucination. I did like that. But yeah, anything else to add with our episode then?
Well, we haven't. I guess we kind of did slightly what we would change. Positives. I did like that Mom was here.
I don't know if I would change that. I would take Mom out. Yeah. I wouldn't.
I liked seeing her because we haven't seen her at all this season, and she usually adds a few things, especially when she said to Igner, "I should have aimed for the garbage." That was pretty.
Well, I think she says that to Walt.
Whatever,
right?
kids.
Yeah.
Whatever kids, which is a pretty like, whoa, she went there.
She always aims high. I should have aimed for the garbage. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also like Hermes like, oh, explain your plan without hitting me. So
yeah,
there's a lot of little lines here.
There's a lot of little lines. Like, Bill does a good job on that.
But yeah, no, overall I'd say so. Okay, so let's go to the rating then. How do you find Planet Espresso in your rating?
This will still be a good episode. It's very Futurama, but I still think that the themes are a little non-present, I guess.
But what is the theme that you're talking about, though? Because like I think the theme of the father and the son thing is very good. It actually it flows over, and it actually does connect, and it does follow through.
I still think that's weak, though. I think it's weak for what they're trying to do.
So what were they trying to do?
They're trying to resolve his whole father-son issue, right? And they didn't really do that.
They did do that at the very end. It was snipped a little bit with Zoidberg, but I think
it was getting there, but then they took it away, so it didn't end. It didn't resolve.
I feel like there's enough of a resolution, though, that it was going to be the thing, because he also buried his father, and he did all this kind of stuff. Like he was able to say certain things to him, and you mentioned that little scene where he's like putting on his glasses and everything. Like there's a little bit of that humor for it. I agree. But in the end, when he goes and he sees Dwight, that's the main theme of it. That's the resolution. He chooses his son. Right. So I think that's resolved quite well.
It was weak. It was not good, in my opinion, for the resolution.
Okay. But it's better than Clothes.
The other ones. I mean, like, yeah. Like, obviously it's better than most of the episodes. I still think the Temp is probably the best.
Temp is definitely still highest.
Yeah.
But I would still put this one as second highest. I mean, would you not put it second highest?
I probably would. That's just how much the other ones kind of sucked.
Mm-hmm. So what's your overall rating then? I'd say this is probably like, if if I gave the temp a 7.5, I'd probably give this one maybe a 7. Like it's definitely passable,
Six,
and there are some really
probably
good,
for me, six and
really
a
good
half
episodes, or really good
at
jokes.
most.
How much, sorry?
6 or 6.5.
6.5. So you'd put it up the same as Clothes?
Yeah, Close was still funny in my opinion, but like the ending, like I said, does take away from the episode. This one I think is probably on par with that one. It's hard to say which one I like more.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely put this one higher than Clothes. Although Clothes does actually, starts off very Futurama-y, as you say, but it doesn't follow. I don't think that one follows through as much. So fair enough. I think this one is definitely a lot more of a straight line, and it does really good things. And I do enjoy the characters in it, and I do enjoy like the little callbacks and the jokes. Like in this episode, those callbacks are very well placed, and I do like the reference to it, especially since Bill Odenkirk did How Hermes Requisitioned His Groove Back. So it is
Probably
nice
the
to see it.
second best Hermes episode. First best would be, oh crap, what's the one with when him and Bender go and try and find Inspector 5. I really like that one. But that one was more Bender than it was Hermes, but Hermes was a close second.
It was a mix. It was a mix, yeah. The best Hermes episode, I'd still say, is How Hermes Requisitioned His Groove Back, honestly. But I mean,
yeah, you got that slave labor camp being so efficient. They only have one Australian guy doing all the labor.
That's right.
Yeah, they should have brought that guy back.
One Australian guy, one Australian man. Yes, that is great. Oh, sorry, and not Rage Against the Vaccine. That episode sucks, but everything else with Hermes is mostly really good. Okay, cool, man. Well, that is for Planet Espresso. I think it's worth a watch, and it's definitely a good Futurama episode. May not follow through entirely, and there's some things that maybe could have been placed better, but overall, I think it's a very solid episode, very good. But yeah, and we'll have to see for next time as well. Hopefully they continue this trek. So far, it's been pretty good episodes this season, rather than what happened last season. But our next one, Cuteness Overlord, right?
Yeah, where Amy sets out to collect the cutest toys in the universe, but they are not as harmless as they appear. So hopefully we'll see Kif in this one if it's an Amy centered episode.
Probably. I think Zap Brannigan's in the trailer, so it's probably going to have both of them in it.
I'll have to look through the trailer again because we only got 2 more episodes left.
3 episodes.
3 episodes left.
Mystery Library and then Otherwise. So we'll see. Yeah. But in any case, yeah. Thanks, Mitchell, and we'll see everybody next time for Cuteness Overlord, episode 8. Have a good one.
You too. Toodaloo.
Toodaloo.